get a coefficient of 0. Alright, tomorrow you'll be working on a group partner activity, so you want to make sure that you have your notes to make sure that you're ready to work with a group. So you'll work with a partner as we work through these problems. So a coefficient of 0. Which means either we're looking for a 0x or we're looking for 0y. That's our goal. Now last week we could just do that with addition and subtraction. This week it's going to be one step more. It doesn't always work to have two equations that have those coefficients that line up to make 0. So we're going to do it a little different this first time here. We have negative 5x for number 1 minus 14y equals 13. And then we have 10x plus 7y equals 16. So that's our first problem. We're going to do 2 problems today. Alright, so as we look at this one, it's not quite as easy as the beginning, because in the beginning, in our first problem today, we knew the y's would make 0. Here, if I add my x's, will that make 0? Negative 5 plus 10? Nope. What if I add my y's, negative 14 plus 7?
Why not?
Does negative 5 plus 10 equal 0? No, opposites make 0. Alright, what about if I subtract? Do I have any that match that are the same numbers?
Yeah.
The x's and the y's?
No.
Which ones match?
If you just erase that little branch going off the one side of the x, so y.
You're right, but we're looking for the coefficients to match. So the coefficients don't match either, so what we need to do is we need to multiply. And as long as I multiply everything by a number, it's still an equal equation. So let's look at our x's. If I wanted to get these x's to eliminate, what would I need to multiply negative 5 by to get something like negative 10? 2. And I can do that as long as I do it to each part. So times 2 times 2. So I'm going to take this top equation and I'm multiplying everything by 2. And that's where I'm using my color today. I'm going to use one color there for this one. Okay, and I'm going to rewrite that. What's negative 5 times 2? Negative 10 x minus 14 times 2? 28x y equals 13 times 2. 26. So that's just our top equation. We still have that bottom equation that will stay the same. So I'm going to just write that underneath it. 10x plus 7y equals 16. Okay, welcome back, Control. Alright, and now we're going to do it just like we did on Friday. Now we can eliminate. Now there's one that's going to make a 0. Are the x's going to make a 0 or a y? X's. To make a 0x there, if I have a negative 10 and a positive 10, should I add or should I subtract?
You should divide.
That's not an option. If I have negative 10 and positive 10,
Add.
Are they the same signs or opposite signs?
Same.
Opposite. So when they're opposite,
10
we
is 10 no matter what.
add. And if we're not sure, it's okay to use your calculator just to double check. Negative 10 minus 10 would have given us negative 20. So if I change that minus to a plus, we do get 0. So I'm going to add, and I want to do that adding all the way across. I'm going to put an adding here. Oh. When we do negative 10 and 10. If we divide, we would have gotten 1. All right, so negative 28 plus 7 still would have got 1. We have to add or subtract to get 0. All right, negative 28 plus 7, we get negative 21. Y equals 26 plus 16. Oops. I can't do this today. 26 plus 16, we get 42. Okay, my goal is to solve that equation. We did some elimination, so we can get rid of part of that equation. Which part did we eliminate? The x's. So let's just get rid of the x's. Let's just write it as negative 21y equals 42. All right, and then we just need to solve for y. So how would I undo that multiplying by negative 21? Divide by negative 21. Good. All right, so that gets rid of that negative 21. We're left with just y equals 42 divided by negative 21. And we get negative 2. Yep. All right, so we found our y, but remember a solution has to have how many parts? 2 parts, an x and a y. So we need to now take this y, and we're going to plug it in to find our x. And we can use any of the equations that we had to start with. Yeah, let's use that bottom one. That one looks easiest because it's all positives, right? Okay, so I'm going to do 10x plus 7. Now instead of y, what is our y? Negative 2 equals 16. And I want to solve that for our x. To start off with, though, we simplify. What is 7 times negative 2? Negative 14. All right, and I solve for x. Are we going to get rid of the 10 first or the negative 14? Good, and down to a negative 14. Good, we add 14. So 10x equals 16 plus 14, 30. Divide by 10. X equals 3. So for our solution, for our final answer, what is our x and our y?
It's C.
3.
X plus y equals C.
Negative 2. Not today, but some days it might.
X plus y equals negative Z.
You just come up with your own equations now.
X, Y, Z, C, E.
Sounds good. All right, we're going to do number 2. Number 2 needs about the same amount of space. So depending on where you're at in your page, decide if you can handle having another space. I'm going to make it one line down because I'm going to need one line of work there. So number 2. Yep. All right, on number 2, we have 2 equations, 10x plus 4y equals 30. Yep, so plus 14, make it a plus. Okay, so 10x plus 4y equals 30, and then 7x plus 5y equals 10. The back page, you have a lot to write because it depends on what we choose this class.
X equals 30.
X is 30. Y is 30. On the back page, we need to keep up with us because there's a lot to write. So it depends on what we choose as a class. All right, so on the last problem, on number 1, we could get rid of those x's because we knew 5 times 2 was 10. That's easy, right? We could have gotten rid of our y's as well. 7 times 2 would have been 14. This time, do we have that where I can multiply an x to get the other one? Can I do 7 times an easy number to get 10?
No.
What about 4 times an easy number to get 5?
No.
No, so we have to decide now, which one do we want to match? Do we want our x's to match or our y's? We want y's? It doesn't matter, we get to choose. Whatever we choose, we're going to have to think of a number that we can multiply to get the same number for those x's or for those y's. So we did x's last time. Do we want to continue to do x's or should we switch it up and do y's? I think x's are outnumbering y's. Anyone else got a vote for y? Got a lot of votes that people don't matter?
Yep.
All right, let's do x's. So I'm going to take this top equation, and again, this is where I like to use my colored pencil. And I'm looking at this bottom equation, and my goal is to get the x's to make 0, is what we decided. So if I look at 7 and 10, what could I multiply 7 and 10 by to end up getting the same number? I could do 10 times what? What's the number that both 10 and 7 go into? 70, right? So if they both go into 70, what we're going to do is we take this bottom number, this 7, and we're going to multiply that by the top here. We're going to take this times 7, times 7, times 7. Okay, try and write this down. Okay, and then on the bottom, what can I multiply all these by? 10. I take that top coefficient and multiply it. Times 10, times 10, times 10. Marcos, put your phone away, dude. You're not on your phone. Good job. You look like you were hiding it behind your notebook. Just holding your notebook weird. Sorry. Good job. All right. So here we go. We're going to start with this multiplying on the top. So what is 10 times 7? 70. So I get 70x plus 4 times 7. No idea. 4 times 7. 28. Yep. So 28y And then 30 times 7. $210. Okay, now on the bottom I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to multiply everything on the bottom by 10. So 7 times 10, 70. 70x plus 5 times 10, 50y, and 10 times 10. 100. Alright, so with those 70 x's, do I want to do 70 plus 70 to make 0x, or 70 minus 70? Minus.
After we're done with notes, can I please take a quick break at my under my teacher?
If they're available. Yeah.
She's usually available.
Okay. So we're going to subtract. And if we subtract there, we have to subtract all the way across. So 28 minus, or so double check, 70 minus 70, is that 0?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, what about 28 minus 50? Negative 22y equals 210 minus 100 and get 110. You could put a plus there if you wanted to. Alright, so now we're left with negative 22y equals 110. And how would we undo this multiplying by negative 22? Divide, good. And we can use that fraction line for division if we'd like to. Divide by negative 22. Divide by negative 22. So y equals, what's 110 divided by negative 22? Negative 5. All right, now we got one of our answers, one of our parts of our solution. We have the y. Now we need to find the x. Now what's cool about the x and finding our x is there's lots of ways to do it. We can use this top equation of our original, 10x plus 4y equals 30. We can use the bottom, 7x plus 5y equals 10. We can use our new red one, 70x plus 28y equals 210, or our new bottom, 70x plus 50y equals 100. We have 4 options to choose from. So do we want to use the original top, original bottom, new top, or new bottom? The 70x plus 28y? Okay. So I'm going to write that a little off to the side, just but underneath still. So I have 70x plus 28, and then what is our y? Negative 5 equals 210. And then our goal is to solve that equation for x. All right, so we're going to start with doing 28 times negative 5.
140.
Negative 140.
Is it okay if I snack on my waffles that I saved from this morning?
Why don't you do that when you take your break? So we're almost done with notes here. Don't want you to get too far behind. Negative 5. All right, so now we're going to solve that equation. Hopefully this is feeling like our nice cozy equation that we feel good about. Trying to get x by itself. Do we undo the 70 first or the negative 140? Good, and how do we get rid of negative 140? Good, add 140 to both sides.
Parentheses or an S? Or what's that parentheses?
So it's a parenthesis, negative 5.
No, that one right there. That looks like an S.
Which one?
Right there, right next to it. right?
parentheses.
You have it like this.
Yep, because that was a second step, I wrote that underneath so that we could do the 28 times negative 5. All right, 210 plus 140, 350. And then we divide both sides by 70. And x equals 5. So for our solution, we want our x and then we want our y. So what is our x?
5 negative 5.
I'll learn how to answer the question, Q. What is our x? 5. So that's going to come first because in our solution, x always comes first is 5. And then our second number is always?
Negative 5.
Our second number is always negative 5?
No, it's always 1.
Always y. And our y this time is negative 5. Now it's really cool. I'm going to show you something. And you guys are going to be like, this isn't cool. But just pretend. Okay? What I think is really cool is I'm looking at my notes from last year. In last year's notes, we have the same exact problem. We started off with 10x plus 4y equals 30, 7x plus 5y equals 10. But last year, whoever notes these were, this was my period 3 last year, they decided to get rid of the y's. So they multiplied the top by 5, and they multiplied the bottom by 4. So they got this whole different problem over here, and they got their x first, and then they plugged it in and got their y. So they did it like backwards compared to what we did. But what do you notice about our answer from last year? It's the same. Does any of the work look the same? No, it's like completely different. But based on the decisions we made different decisions in my period 3 class last year, but we end up with the same work, same answer. Different work.
Is it okay if I stay there the entire time?
Can we talk in just a moment?
Huh?
Can we talk in just a moment?
Okay.
Okay.